To make a motor, you will need a DC power supply, 2 cables, the base with 2 pieces of copper, the axle, the spindle with wire wrapped around it, the C-core for the magnets, and 2 magnets. When you have the spindle, it's very important that the wires are bare at the same side and that they are clamped around the axle. If they aren't clamped, what can work quite well is just using a piece of thread and tying that thread because it stops a lot of the contacts from being covered by something like tape. Alternatively, the wires can be held in place next to the axle by using a very thin rubber band. Again, the important thing is to make sure that you have got bare wire so that you can make contact with it. The magnets are set up on the C-base, so called because of its shape. One magnet will go on one side, the other magnet should want to attract to the first side, so you need to have a north side facing a north side. If you have them repelling each other, it's the wrong way around, so you need to want to attract, and then you put it on the other side. So you should have a uniform magnetic field going from one side to the other, so all the field lines are going whichever way they're going, but they're all going in a straight line. The base is set up so that there are 2 pieces of copper wrapped around. They should be sort of pincering in. That bit's actually quite tricky to get working, so we'll actually come and play with those a little bit later, but you should have 2 pieces of copper. The bare ends of the spindle should be the same ends as the copper, and they should fit in between. So I'm going to pass the axle through and it will come out the other side so that this is free to spin. And you should see that these copper bits are actually pinching on the side, so they're making contact with the bare wire, not making contact with the bare wire, and that's how we get our circuit. This base then goes inside the magnets so that the wire is inside that magnetic field, and we use crocodile clips to clip onto the bare ends of the wire, of the copper wire, which is then connected to a power supply. Once you turn on the power supply, you should get a current that flows through the copper, through the wire that's on the spindle, and through the other side, so you get a complete circuit. This will cause a force, because of the magnetic field, this will cause a force on the wire, which will cause the motor to spin. The part that does get very fiddly is trying to make sure that these contacts are right on these 2 wires at the same time once every half turn. So it should be not making contact, then making contact, not making contact, making contact. Getting those wires in the right place is tricky. So what you can do is, if I swap these over, you could use one of the bases that doesn't have the copper wire. Make sure you still have your magnetic field. And you can simply use the crocodile clips on their own. This was easier with 2 people because one person to give it the kick to start it off, but you can get it moving. Again, like I said, it's easier with 2 people. But you can also try that approach if it's not working.